As a French woman, I hate the Parisian girl stereotype. You know, the one that's everywhere from movies to social media, where we're supposed to be effortlessly chic, mysterious and glamorous, all that while spending our days chain-smoking at a Parisian cafe. It's not a new thing. The Parisian girl stereotype has been around for ages, but thanks to social media, things have taken a pretty concerning turn. And this has real-life consequences on how people perceive France, Paris, and French people. In this newer TikTokified version of the stereotype, the first thing you see is the aesthetic. If you type hashtag Parisienne on Instagram, for example, everyone has a chic and timeless style. And of course, there's the romanticized Paris backdrop, beautiful cafes, cute street, and obviously the Eiffel Tower. But you know, this idealized French girl, more than a style, she's a way of life. She's spontaneous, romantic, effortless, yet full of contradictions, like she seemingly spends her day reading at Parisian cafes, yet is somehow rich. And she eats croissants all day, but she's really skinny. Obviously, this is the French way of life that we're being sold in media. This doesn't exist in real life. Like, look at this shot of me walking in the street in a local neighborhood of Paris. No one actually looks like that, and this stereotypical French girl hasn't appeared yet. She's not real. So in this Vox article called How to Sell a $1 Billion Myth Like a French Girl, first of all, have you seen a better title? The author, Eliza Brooke, talks about how the Parisian myth has been absolutely commodified. And she says, the French girl's influence is tangible. She makes money for big American drugstore chains, department stores, independent brands, book publishers, magazines, and digital media companies. She goes on to give us several examples, like how Rouje wine has become super popular in the US, or how US pharmacy chain Walgreens now sells French skincare brands like Avène. And I really want to touch on this last point, because now apparently even French pharmacies are super famous due to the Parisian girl image. Like, they even have a Goop article with a mysterious lady wearing red lipstick with a backdrop of the Eiffel Tower. So this is very funny to me because we're talking about pharmacies, it's not very glamorous, but also because I've lived in the US and I have a lot of friends who are from the US who visit me here in Paris, and recently people have been going to town on French pharmacies. Everyone who comes and visits buys at least a few $100s of French beauty products at the pharmacy, and I can't blame them because I do find French skincare to be really good and affordable. And also, I've done the same thing when I was in Korea. And obviously, I couldn't make this video without telling you about how the luxury industry actually capitalizes on this idea of Frenchness. It is pretty well known that French luxury companies dominate the market. Like, for example, we have LVMH that has a bunch of different brands, from Louis Vuitton to Dior to Celine, but also alcohol like Dom Pérignon, and makeup brand Guerlain. And obviously, there's just so many handbags and creams a French person can buy, so they had to market to an international audience to achieve this status. Like, for example, Hermès makes most of their sales in Asia, and their most recent campaign takes place in New York. So what they're actually selling is what's associated to the concept of Frenchness, which is the idea of timeless, high-quality products that resist trend cycles. But obviously, most of us don't shop at Hermès every single day. And beyond that, I want to tell you about everyday brands that build themselves on the stereotype of the Parisian woman. And for that, I need to tell you about Jeanne Damas and her brand Rouje. So Jeanne Damas is a Parisian fashion designer and influencer. She has over 1.5 million followers on Instagram, and she's a bit of the official French girl. Like, she's often mentioned in the most iconic French girl of all time types of lists. And that's along with really big icons like Coco Chanel or Brigitte Bardot. So she's pretty influential. And she has a clothing brand called Rouje with a J, which is a play on the word rouge with a G, which means red in French, and is a direct reference to the iconic red French lipstick. So this brand is mostly about her image as a Parisian. Like, if you search for Rouje on Google, the first thing you see, the first line of the description is Rouje is a direct reflection of Jeanne Damas. And that's basically her marketing strategy. Most of the articles I've seen either about the brand or about her are actually about Jeanne Damas being a Parisian. Like, she has truly made a career of embodying the stereotype of the Parisian woman. And her Instagram feed, for example, has stereotypical French things like sitting at a cafe or biking in high heels. And I really want to say here that I have no issue with Jeanne, Damas, or any of the people I mentioned in this video. My real problem is how harmful this stereotype can be when it's pushed by media in the wrong way. First of all, this aesthetic turns Paris into a carefully curated set for social media. I really don't like this. People visit the same exact spots to achieve the perfect aesthetic. Like, people can't go to a cafe without having the official Paris cafe chairs, which is fine, but there's also very good coffee shops that don't have that. And I feel in general, Paris becomes a list of pictures or videos to get instead of an actual city to be experienced. Like, literally everyone takes the same photos when there's just so many beautiful places around Paris. Paris is really old, there's beauty everywhere. Don't have to look only on Instagram to find nice things in Paris. Also, I have to say, when you're just ticking boxes and have really high expectations, you're destined to be disappointed by the reality of Paris. And that's one of the big themes of my channel, of actually sharing the real French culture as it's lived by real people and not only as it's portrayed by media. Like, just a reminder to tell you what I mean, the real Paris is not the ratatouille ride at Disneyland. It's a real city. We live here, we have to do stuff here. It's sometimes dirty, it's noisy, it's a big city, so things are annoying sometimes, and that's just how it is. So the romanticized version of Paris is only part of the story. Also, one thing that really angers me is how it creates a specific idea of how French people should be, which obviously is not the truth at all. There's many different types of French people. There's a lot of us with many different experiences, and I really want to get into this now because it's one of the reasons why I hate this stereotype the most. And before we move forward, I want to thank Lingoda for sponsoring this portion of the video. Lingoda is an online language learning school, and they have live small group classes on different themes, which are great if you want to learn French quickly and confidently. My boyfriend Bobby is American, and while he's a great communicator, he was still making a lot of grammar mistakes and was not really happy about it. To improve his French, he has been taking classes with Lingoda for a while, and I've been really impressed at his progress. Seriously, brushing up on his grammar was what he truly needed to feel confident learning French. Lingoda has 3 different learning plans that work with your unique goals, as well as quite a few different languages. So you're guaranteed to find something that works for you, and I recommend you try them. At the moment, they are offering a special discount if you sign up using the link in the description or use my code LucileAugust for 20 euros off on any language learning course and up to 20 free private classes when signing up for Lingoda Flex. So go ahead and start learning French today with Lingoda. So the Parisian stereotype has a long history of being ridiculous. 8 years ago, we've had this Vogue video on how to be the perfect French woman. Then more recently, we've had Kendall Jenner showing us her Spring French Girl makeup tutorial. What is a Spring French Girl? We will never know. Since I'm very dedicated to this channel, I've watched the whole video, and it is a fine makeup tutorial. Kendall Jenner is just trying to sell us a bunch of products.
This is my spring French girl makeup look, I guess.
But obviously nothing is French about it. Kendall herself is not French, she doesn't use any French products. It's just a more natural makeup look with a red lipstick. And then you have all those crazy articles about doing just about anything like a French girl. Like, you can of course get dressed like us, but now you can also apparently age like us, have our hair, and even sleep like us at night. Obviously, these articles are here to sell you something every time. And I feel the Parisian/French girl stereotype is really good for that because it's about being effortlessly chic, but also unattainable. So this combo is perfect to get people to spend money. And then, since I'm dedicated to the research, I've found the most ridiculous book of all times called How to Be a Parisian Wherever You Are. And I've actually skimmed through it for this video, and I feel this book is so great, as in it summarizes so well what I hate about the Parisian woman stereotype. So obviously, when you open the book, the first thing you see is the author Caroline de Maigret, who is an ex-model, sitting in bed with a cigarette. And if you think it couldn't get worse, it actually does during the book, so I'll also be talking about this book in the rest of the video. But you know, part of it is funny, but part of it has real life consequences. Although the Parisian girl is just a myth, she's not real, she can actually be harmful. And here I want to give you my opinion on 7 harmful stereotypes that stem from this myth. The first one is the myth of being effortless. Although these women look like they just woke up, they're slightly disheveled, they just put on red lipstick, it does take a lot of time to look that effortless. And you know, I'm by no ways a fashion icon. I'm just a girl who likes wearing red shirts. I can tell you that to be comfortable wearing only minimal makeup, so for example, right now I'm only wearing tinted sunscreen. I actually have an extensive skincare routine and I get facials regularly. So there's not on one hand, you know, people who are truly effortless, who just woke up like this, and then people who try so hard and have to be in full glam before going out. I do want to say though that part of it comes from the French idea that trying hard is a bit distasteful. It's not a desirable trait in France, and some things have to stay a secret, although this is changing. Like, for example, the culture is a bit more casual in certain ways and more formal in others. Like, it would be a bit weird to be overdressed at a party that will be trying too hard, but then I feel it will also be a bit weird to wear your indoor clothes outside, like, for example, going to the supermarket wearing your PJs, unless you're sick. But one thing I feel is super harmful is this effortlessness applied to being skinny. So what I don't like about this myth is that it promotes a very specific type of person. Wearing basics like jeans and a t-shirt is only considered stylish in media if you're a rich, skinny white lady. And obviously there's many different body types in France and in Paris, but there is a lot of pressure to be skinny. And here there's not really a recent study around that, but I found this study from 2009, which says French women are among the skinniest in Europe and the most worried about weight. But in the past, people acted like model Caroline de Maigret and did as if they never worked out ever and just were skinny because they were skinny.
That's the warm-up? No way.
I really don't like that because obviously this lady is a model, so she's paid to maintain a certain body shape. So it kind of feels icky to, you know, act as if you're not doing anything, you're just like that. And things have changed quite a lot since 2009. I do feel there's less pressure to be skinny. And this brings me to another thing I hate about this stereotype is how much it focuses on physical appearance and in particular on being attractive to men, which is how the book How to Be a Parisian starts actually. The first chapter is called Parisian as seen by a Frenchman. And you know, wanting to be attractive is absolutely okay, but I think there's more to life than just that. But I wish the stereotype focused on other things that are maybe a bit better for personal happiness. Also, this focus on being physically attractive is paired with a weird views of relationships. Like the book has a guide on how to make your husband think you have a lover, with advice that includes cry from time to time for no reason and take up smoking again. You know, and obviously by now I'm putting this book in the same category as Emily in Paris, as in it's not a serious way to learn about French culture, because obviously no one does that in real life. All of this does stem from a culture that's a bit more affectionate than in other countries. Like for example, in France, being affectionate in public is more normal than in other countries, but this Parisian girl aesthetic thing really takes it up a notch. Also, why are these social media French girls spending their days at a cafe? Like for most Parisians, our day are spent working or studying, and I'm sure it's the same for all of these people. Like Jeanne Damas, she's a successful businesswoman, so she's probably working a lot. But the main thing I hate about this Parisian girl stereotype is actually the fact that in media, France equals Paris. There is no other part of France than Paris. There is no difference between a French girl and a Persian girl. It's the exact same aesthetic. And obviously this is annoying to me because there's just so many different regions and ways to be French. There's so many different people that just relate differently to the French culture. There's not one uniform French culture. And I feel this aesthetic is majorly gatekeeping who gets to be a Parisian. And a good example of that is Sabrina Sokol, who is a fashion journalist and one of the famous Parisian girls of social media. And in the Vox article I told you about, she says that most of the interview requests she gets from foreign publications are around her style or beauty habits in the context of being French. And she adds, which is funny because I was actually born in Romania. And here we're touching a topic that I find really interesting, is who gets to be a Parisian. According to this aesthetic, well, you need to have a particular type of look, which I really don't agree with, because Paris is such a diverse city with a lot of different people from different countries that have different looks, different skin colors, different body shapes. And I find ironic that Sabrina Sokol is considered Parisian because she only looks a certain way. And I do find that interesting as well from a personal point of view, because in the comments of my videos, people often debate on whether I look like a French person or not. And to that, I want to tell you that France is a very diverse country. If you see a map of France is kind of in the middle of Western Europe. So we have a lot of countries that are bordering us. We also have a lot of people moving here for work. France has always been a place where people immigrate to. Like, for example, I'm from Toulouse, my mom is French, but my dad is from Spain. It is very common among the people I know to have at least one foreign parent or foreign grandparent. It's just the way France is, and we do not have a uniform Parisian culture. So there's just not a single way to experience French culture, and I really want you to go beyond the stereotypes. And if you want to see my personal perspective on that, you should watch those videos next. I'll see you there.